we want to figure out, are we using our time wisely? Are we working on our business? Are we working in the business? Are we the time that we're using? Are we effectively growing our business?
This is Don't Fear Grit with Rob Taormina. Marketing strategies and advertising technologies to help you build a better business.
Hey guys, we're going to do a quick follow-up to our last episode where we had Marissa Thompson come in from Flexibook Bookkeeping Services, and she was talking about some incredible tips for businesses as it relates to accounting and bookkeeping, and to help them save money, save headaches. It was a really great episode. I highly recommend checking that out if you haven't done so already. But this is a follow-up to that where I want to just take one thing that we had discussed and really highlight it here, and that's the idea of outsourcing, and specifically on the topic of when is the right time to start outsourcing in your business. Outsourcing has become a really popular sort of opportunity for people. It helps to fill roles that otherwise maybe that you don't have someone in-house. And there's a lot of other great reasons that I really want to just dive into today. So on this whole topic of outsourcing and when is the right time to outsource. First, let's talk about the different types of roles that are commonly outsourced. One, the obvious, because this is a follow-up to our previous episode, is accounting and bookkeeping. Not every business has the luxury of having an in-house bookkeeper and an in-house accountant. And so that's an area that they outsource. They'll have their a separate accountant or a separate third-party individual or company that handles all of their bookkeeping. So that's one type of a role that is outsourced. Another role that is outsourced is marketing. Instead of having an in-house marketing director, they hire agencies to handle various marketing roles, and that's another area that you can outsource. And the list runs down. You can outsource a lot of things these days. Call centers. Instead of having a secretary, you can have every call rerouted to an intake center, a call center. So as technology becomes more advanced, and this whole idea of globalization is, we are able to outsource a lot of the roles. So the question is, since we are able to outsource a lot of these roles, what is the right role for your business to outsource, and when is the right time to outsource? And I like to really just start with one question to help people get to a place of comfort of whether or not they should outsource. Let's break up a business into three categories, right? Three pay structure roles. One, you've got the $10 an hour job, the $10 an hour role, the $50 an hour role, and the $100 an hour role, right? And as a startup, as a business owner, when you first start out, you're wearing every single hat, you're performing every single role. But as your business begins to scale, progress, and do better, what you want to start doing is filling in the lower roles first and only focusing on the higher end roles. So once you start getting a little bit more established, infrastructure can take on the $10 an hour roles, freeing you to do the $50 and the $100 an hour roles, so on and so forth. As you scale up again, you can bring other people on to handle the $50 an hour roles, and you can only now focus on the $100 an hour roles. This is a great starting point to determine when to hire and when to start outsourcing. Is time. Time is the most valuable commodity, and it's going to govern our decisions. So what we want to do is we want to figure out, are we using our time wisely? Are we working on our business? Are we working in the business? Are we the time that we're using? Are we effectively growing our business? So it's going to get to a place where you, as a business owner, as an entrepreneur, as a brand ambassador, even, what you need to start doing is focusing on the higher level items, because that's going to enable you to scale faster and more efficient. So that's a great indication that you need to start outsourcing maybe some of the lower end roles, maybe that $10 an hour role. Identify what they are, and now we can start filling them in. Now, are there cases where you can now, in a way, we can use this word creatively, this outsourcing word, can we outsource it to a person that's in-house? I know that sounds kind of weird, but Absolutely, because what you're doing is you're going to be outsourcing the role that you previously were performing yourself. Now you're going to outsource it to a brand new employee and do this in-house. So that could be a creative way using that word, and now you're going to outsource your role to someone brand new in-house. Now, what about outsourcing it to someone who is maybe not an in-house person? This is someone who is working remotely, maybe even working in a completely different area geographically. This is really where this word outsourcing really comes into play. Most of these outsourcing roles fit into that particular category. So let's talk about that right there. Is a great role that should be outsourced. First, let's talk about marketing. You likely did not start an advertising and marketing agency. You likely are in a business where it could be a restaurant, right? It could be food service. Maybe you are a professional, you're a lawyer, you're a doctor, maybe you're an accountant. Fill in the blanks. You did not necessarily open up your business because you are a marketing expert. In this case, it is the right thing to do to find someone who is an expert and outsource that role to that person or that agency. They'll be able to perform that job a lot better than you can, which means that your ROI, your return on your investment on that role, will be much greater. Same thing applies to bookkeeping, right? Is when you are ready to now scale up your business, something that will free you up to do that is actually to bring on a bookkeeper or outsourcing it to a bookkeeping service. I'm going to run some numbers with you. I wrote them down here. Well, typed them out. I'm a technology guy, right? So imagine you have someone in-house and they're working 30 hours a week and you're paying them $60 an hour in order to be your in-house bookkeeper, right? And it takes them that 30 hours a week to perform all of their tasks for that given week. So that's going to be a $1,800 project. Or you can outsource it to a professional bookkeeping service where they might be charging you $100 an hour. Now, on the front end, you're thinking it doesn't add up. Why would I pay $100 an hour to outsource it to a bookkeeping service versus just I can save money? It's the illusion, by the way, of saving money, and I'll get to that in a second, and save money and pay them only $60 an hour. Here's the reason, is you're going to be paying $100 an hour to a professional bookkeeping service. This is what all they do. Literally, this is all they do. They are experts and authorities in the area. There's massive infrastructure, so it's not just one person, it's a team of people. So that person that you could have hired for $60 an hour, it took them 30 hours. You outsource it to a professional service where there's infrastructure, there's a whole team of people working on it. That 30 hours gets cut down to 15. So simple math. $100 an hour sounds like it's more per hour, but as far as the project is concerned, you're saving money. Because 100 times 15 is now $1,500. So based on those numbers right there, you're actually saving yourself $300 on that particular project by not keeping it in-house, by outsourcing it to someone else. So it's a great way of increasing the level of your talent, finding people who are highly, highly skilled. Otherwise, if you had that person on your team, it would cost you a fortune. But now, because you're outsourcing it to a professional service with lots of infrastructure, this is literally all they do. The hourly wage might seem high, but the cost per project is actually much lower. So you're getting better quality service for ultimately, in the end, when you cost it out per project, you're saving a ton of money. That's a great example of when to outsource. Let's not focus on that, these small numbers and say, oh, well, I can save money because of the hourly wage. No, let's price it out per project. And what you're going to realize is you're going to save a lot more money even per project. Here's another reason to outsource and why you can actually save a lot of money. I touched on it a little bit in that when you outsource, what you want to do is you don't want to just find any person that can do the job. When you outsource, you want to find the best person, the best organization that can do the job well, because what they'll end up doing is not just saving you money as far as the cost of the project, but because they're the best at what they do, They know all of the details of this particular project and they can get more money out of it. In the case of a bookkeeper, a professional bookkeeper who is well versed with tax law and everything else related to bookkeeping, they're going to be aware of ways to save money on expenses and on taxes that someone else in-house that you would have to train wouldn't be that well versed in. So there's another way that that person can save you money. And I'm not just talking about bookkeeping. That's true with outsourcing a lot of these roles. Marketing as well. Remember, you didn't open up your business to become a marketing director or become an expert in marketing. You opened up your business because you were passionate about your product and your service. So you focus on that. When you bring in a professional marketer, a professional agency, and I'm not just talking about anyone. Remember, we're talking about people who are highly skilled in what they do, is they'll not just save you money on the cost of the product, of the project, they're also going to save you money because a good marketer is going to make you more money because they know the world of marketing really well. They know how to maximize reach, how to maximize conversions, how to build out funnels and leverage advertising technologies, right? These are all things that you may not be skilled at. You may not even be aware of that, but a highly skilled marketer would. So this is another great example of when to outsource. So there's a lot of these great roles. And what you want to do is you want to actually have these sort of reflection moments. You're in your business and remember earlier we categorized it into 3 groups. Categorize your roles into these 3 groups: the $10 an hour job, the $50 an hour job, and the $100 an hour job. Now that's all scalable and relative to your business, so you can replace those numbers relative to where you are in the world and the sort of the economies of scale type of thing. And it could be at $1,000, whatever it is. But you understand our point here. You got $10, $50, $100 an hour jobs. And what you want to do as you're growing, in order to grow, you're going to have to free yourself up from the lower end jobs, right? As a business owner, you should not be working on a $10 an hour job. Your time is going to be worth more and more as you continue to grow your business. So you need to scale your own life and your own role as well, which means that role needs to be replaced. It's either you're going to outsource it in-house, which is fine. That's one way we can creatively use this role. You can outsource it to someone in-house, allow them to take on this role. Now you can nurture them through that entire process, but you don't want to micromanage, let them do that role. Because if you're micromanaging, you might just try to do it yourself, right? Or the other way is some of these roles, let's analyze them. Is it more effective? Would it create a greater impact long-term on both you and your staff by outsourcing it to another company or another person? And again, since this is a follow-up to the Marissa Thompson's episode about taxes, let's keep on using that as the example of bookkeeper. A bookkeeper is a great example of something that you can outsource to someone else in another company. Now, she owns Flexibooks, so that's one great option for you to use. There are a number of really great bookkeeping services that you can outsource this to. Honestly, my recommendation is number 1, ask people around you. Ask other business owners. What do they do? They'll be a wealth of knowledge and a great source for you. And there's another thing. I don't know if you've heard of it. It's called Google. It's literally the world's encyclopedia of all information. Check that out and start outsourcing and figure out what are some available options. And I would create demos and have conversations and figure out if, in fact, this would be a good option for you to outsource your bookkeeping services. But this episode is a great sort of moment, a reminder that you should audit your business on a regular basis. Some people audit it on a weekly basis. Some people audit their business on monthly or quarterly or annual. I would audit your business if you haven't been doing it at all. I would audit it at the very least on a monthly basis. At the end of your month, go through your books, talk to your staff, have meetings, analyze all the projects. And what you'll do is you'll surface all the great things that you guys have been able to accomplish, some of the great solutions that you've figured out to do things better and that you could apply more intentionally moving forward. But you're also going to reveal the areas of your business that need a little work. And sometimes the answer to that particular challenge could be outsourcing. It's a really great tool and it'll help you scale. And remember, outsourcing is not necessarily just finding someone in another country or another territory to handle the role. There's creative ways that we could use this word outsourcing. It really could just boil down to outsourcing a role that you had as the business owner to a brand new person who you can delegate that to. And that'll really free you up to be able to grow your business even more. Outsourcing is a great tool, and it literally is one of the things that all businesses have in common that are successful. Businesses that are successful, they outsource. Period. End of story. So you want to know this? One of the secret sources? It's called outsourcing. If you haven't done it, look into it. If you have, but you haven't had really great success at it, that's fine. I would keep on pressing and research a little bit more. Maybe your answer is you didn't outsource it to the right agency or to the right person. You didn't do enough research or you didn't hire the right person. But it doesn't mean that just because that particular experience was bad, it means that outsourcing is bad for you. It could just mean situationally, you didn't pick the right person or the right group. Outsourcing is the one thing, not the one thing, it's one of the things that all successful businesses have in common. Every successful business outsources a level of their work, a level of their roles to other people. I would highly recommend looking into it. And if you need some help with outsourcing, I've outsourced a lot of roles for my companies. In fact, I have a lot of employees that are in-house. I have a lot of staffers that are remote. I have staffers that work for me full-time in other countries as well. So I've got some experience with outsourcing, and I'd be happy to talk one-on-one. You guys can find me online. You can private message me or DM me anytime, any questions as it relates to outsourcing. Again, I'm Rob Taormina, so you can find me. I'm literally everywhere. You guys can find me someplace. But this is Don't Fear Grit. Definitely, let's continue to grow this community together. Really excited about this community. We're actually growing out. We're taking some of the audience and they're having these really great conversations in some of these private groups. If you guys would like to get access to some of these private groups where our audience is now taking these topics that we're talking about on the show and we're pulling them off the show and having these really great live conversations online, we'd be happy to actually have you guys join that community as well, and we can have this conversation continue on. It's really exciting stuff. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, do all these great things because this community is about you guys and we're going to grow it together. We believe that the tide rises for all ships, and so if we contribute to the pot together, we all become successful together. So remember, guys, don't fear the process and don't fear grit. All right, we'll see you next time. Take care, guys.